Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I have another keyboard for you, and this one is from SkyLoong. And the box had a bit of a rough ride in the shipping, but thankfully all of the contents is in perfectly good condition. So this is the SkyLoong GK75 RGB, and this is an interesting keyboard because it uses an optical switch, and that's kind of its claim to fame. As well as a fully programmable rotary knob. A lot of the knobs that come on these custom keyboards are the one piece that you cannot program, and SkyLoong has gone ahead and made sure that it can actually be done. Now, this keyboard is available in 12 different color schemes, and there are 2 different DIY kits, and one is in ABS and then the other is aluminum. Now, the idea behind a optical switch is that it's supposed to be faster, more reliable, a little bit more durable, and essentially provide the same feeling as a mechanical switch. And they offer about 6 different varieties of these optical switches. They do use their own in-house Glacier pre-lubed switch, they call it. Let's go ahead and unbox this and see what we get. Like I said, this one had a rough go in the shipping, but believe everything has arrived safely. We have a essentially little cheat sheet here in English and in Chinese on how to use all of the shortcut keys if you're not programming this. This of course does come with its own programming software, and in here we have on one side just some packing, and I think over here we're hiding a cable and the combination key puller and switch puller. So it's a 2-in-1. It's convenient. Cable is braided, and it is a USB-A to USB Type-C. So if you need USB Type-C to USB Type-C, you might need to provide your own cable, but that's okay. Most computers do have a USB port. Over here, we have a generous pack of extra keycaps. Now, this is pretty much all the keycaps that you would need to do a full keyboard, and I really actually appreciate that, because if you're going for a combined aesthetic and you want it to match this keyboard, you have all the keycaps to do that, or if you program some of the keys here differently, you can swap out the keycaps with the ones that come in the bag. So, bravo to them. And then, of course, we have the keyboard itself. And it comes with kind of a dust cover, if you will, which is kind of handy. And we'll put that packaging off to the side. So this keyboard has a bit of heft to it, and even though it has a plastic ABS outer shell, it has a steel plate on the inside of there that really helps add some decent mass to it. And the whole thing is on a gasket, so the whole keyboard is more or less floating on that gasket that sits between the steel plate and the keycaps, just to provide a better feeling typing experience and a better sounding one as well. Yeah, not a whole lot to complain about there. So the keyboard layout only has home, end, delete, insert, and then page up and then page down over here. So you are really limited on your additional keys besides your function row, which, you know, I'm a person that really enjoys some of the extra keys. So with this, I'll have to pick and choose very carefully which of those 3 keys I might want to reprogram. But overall, the aesthetic looks pretty great. You've got like this kind of dark translucent gray with some white keycaps flanked by some darker gray ones, and then of course some red accents. If we flip the device over, we have a channel that runs essentially in 3 different areas here for you to run this USB cable, which is convenient. And then you have 2 sets of very stiff feet for 2 different typing angles if you don't like the standard where the keyboard deck sits. So this particular variant of the keyboard does not appear to have any wireless capability. So the price point for these, if you're buying the white LED, is about $59.99 US, and then RGB is an additional $10 at $69.99. So pretty affordable, and overall, I don't mind the aesthetic. And if you can live with the few additional function keys, at least unless you get another keyboard or something a bit larger, and they do offer these in larger configurations, you can also put these extra keycaps to good use. The only other thing that I'll mention is that it does, of course, support a Windows and a Mac key layout, and you can see how to toggle between those two here. You can also do it in software. And speaking of that software, it gives you some addresses here on the bottom where you can download the software kit for Windows or Mac, which is kind of handy. Now begins the testing phase of this video, so I'll come back to you in a little while and give you my report. So the first thing I'll start off by saying, and get this out of the way, is that the software is a bit of a step to download. It's pretty powerful, but it's also not really that intuitive. Pretty much all the menus and everything are on one single screen, and it can be a bit overwhelming. So you can definitely program to your heart's content, but it's a lot. So it does take you a bit to kind of understand how the layer system works. There's a very complex series of macros for a variety of popular games available. The other thing that I will point out is that for whatever reason, my main camera is not liking the backlit LEDs at all, but this flickering is not something that you see with the human eye. Alright, so I was able to get just above 70 words per minute with a couple of mistakes. And let's talk about one of the, well, I think 2 of the reasons that I personally made the mistakes I did on the keyboard. The first is I'm not used to a smaller right shift key. That is considerably smaller, and just how everything is shoved over with the inclusion of the arrow keys down here is a big change for me personally. So I know that that's a bit of a training scar for me, but there are times where I'm trying to hit that shift key or trying not to hit that shift key, and I'm just not quite used to this side as much as I'd like. The other thing is that the keycaps on this are a little kind of sharper, I think is the word I want to use, but I don't know if that's entirely it. But the shape of the key is just a little bit different than what I'm used to, and I find myself catching on keys that maybe I wouldn't normally strike. So not too sure what exactly is going on there. If I come to any conclusions, I'll be sure to splice them in. But overall, the optical switch part of this keyboard is very nice. I do like how the keyboard sounds. I like how it responds. There isn't really a whole lot that I have in terms of concerns to bring to you. There are a variety of these boards that will vary in price. I'll leave some links down in the description there if you're interested in learning more. I want to thank SkyLoong for sending me the keyboard for testing. I think it's overall a solid board with a lot of customization, probably more than I would ever personally use, But if you're using a lot of macros and you want a keyboard set up and you're not building it your own, you might find this to be a nice place to start, especially when the software does allow you to customize what the knob does. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll leave some YouTube suggestions up here on the screen for you. And once again, I will see you next time.